Hello guys, recently in Laravel 12.8 they released a very useful and important function to eliminate n+1 query with just setting automatic eager load in app service provider. And I had this post on my channel and also a separate video, 6 minutes, and I will link both in the description below, but seems like some people didn't really understand how exactly it works. And in this video I will re-explain how exactly it works, what it does and what it doesn't, because people are confused. Read the comments. At least it will be additional call for each user. Also another comment, always activate this, only if you want to load everything with most queries. Another, why don't you use with to do it explicitly? So basically some people think that if you enable this in your app service provider, then models will be always loaded with all the relationships that model has. And that is not the case. Let me demonstrate. Let's comment it out for now, and in the model we have this. Post belongs to user and belongs to category. This is the database with 10 posts and random users and categories. Then in the table of posts we show only the author, the user. So in the controller we don't load the category and don't reference it in the blade. And for example, let's simulate the situation that we forgot with user eager loading and do something like this. In our Laravel debug bar, we can see that the amount of queries is 17. Some of them are unrelated, but this is what we have for users. For each user, there's a query to the database, which is a classical n+1 query problem. And of course, the solution is, or was before 12.18, to eager load this, and then with user would eliminate all those queries and have only one query for all the users. But now since 12.8 we have this, so we can comment that out and we can enable automatically eager load the relationships. And if we refresh, the result is the same. Select for users, only one select, so eager loading is automatically applied. But the main point is there's another relationship, posts belongs to category, and some people think that it will also be automatically loaded since the function name is automatically eager load relationships, so it may mean all relationships. No. Here's what actually happens under the hood. I will read the code from that pull request. If we go to Eloquent collection, all that function is doing is loading the relationship, load relation, but only those relationships that you're trying to load in Blade. It takes the relationship not from the model, but from the array of tuples that was actually referenced throughout Laravel request. So for example, if in the index blade would decide to also show category, let's do it post category name like this, and we refresh the page, now we have category, and in the queries we see that categories are now eager loaded. If in the app service provider we comment that out, then again n+1 query is activated and we have duplicated queries to the database. So some people thought that it loads all the relationships, but actually only the ones that you're referencing in the blade or somewhere in for each loops or wherever. But there's another feature, very old one in Laravel Eloquent, which is pretty dangerous, and that's why I don't advise using it much, but there's protected with property. So this one, if we hover over it, this is the explanation, the relations to eager load on every query. So now if we enable that with, and we remove category from here so we don't reference the category anywhere, and if we disable this one, so we're back to pre-12.8 situation, we refresh, we don't reference the category. Remember, we don't show it anywhere. It's not in the controller. But in the queries, you will see select from categories because we specified that it needs to be eager loaded all the time for all the Eloquent queries of post model. In some very rare cases, this is exactly what you want to do. But if your goal is to eliminate n+1 query problem, a better way and more efficient way is to automate this. And that's why this feature is so powerful and hyped on Twitter and elsewhere in Laravel community, because it eliminates n+1 query problem without loading too many relationships and causing other problems. The only downside I found with this automation of eager loading is that you can specify the columns. For example, if you want to eager load specific columns for the related table, which you can do that. From what I remember, the syntax is user and then you specify, for example, ID and name. Yes, thank you AI, it auto-suggested it for me. So yeah, you cannot do that if you specify the thing globally. So in this case, it will load all the table, so select asterisk from the table, which may be a performance issue if the table is really big with a lot of columns. So for such extra optimization, you may want to leave it like this. And actually, let's see which one it is loading. We refresh and we see that from users we have select ID and name. So this is another reason to still use that relationship automation, because it will be fired only for relationships that are missing. In our case, we eager load the user manually, so this function isn't triggered in this case. What do you think? Is it clear, or was it clear for you from the beginning? And will you use that new feature in your Laravel 12 projects? Let's discuss in the comments below. That's it for this time, and see you guys in other videos.